Okay, so there's no lesson 4 video because lesson 4 is just a review of lesson 1, 2, and 3. So let's move on to lesson 5. And this is 3 different conjugations, well, not conjugations, but 3 different, I guess we would say conjugations. Kind of. The reason why I'm hesitating to say this because there is such a thing labeled like first conjugation, second conjugation. But for now, we're just going to say there's 3 conjugations, and I'll clear it up later if we get all the way to the end of this book. So what you see here is you're going to see that all 3 of them are what are known as sum, and that means, it's the same right here, which means I am, and these are what are known as the to be verbs. So literally to be or not to be, meaning existence. And if you know Hamlet, when he says to be or not to be, he's contemplating existence. So it's sum or non sum, right? Or actually esse, which means to be, which is the infinitive. And we'll get to that in a bit. But you'll see, so it's sum es est, sumus esti sunt, which is just I am, you are, he, she, it is, we are, you are, they are. So that's the present tense. So it's basically the same thing as the first lesson, except now instead of saying I love, you love, or I walk, you walk, it's I am. And so these will later be used, by the way, to talk about like I am a teacher or I am tall, which is not true. And that's what they are. They're used for either just to actually say existence or to describe, okay? So in this case, these are not actually helping verbs. Normally, if you were labeling this in English, you would say are. Well, that's a helping verb, and you put HV or whatever you do for your Shirley grammar. But if you're doing the homework and it says box the helping verbs, you would not actually box these ones. Am, are, is, are. The only boxing verb or helping verbs you would box are the will, because be is the actual verb. I will be. So the verb will is the helping verb modifying, so to speak, the verb be, just so you know when you're doing your homework. And it's just going to be the same thing. Imperfect is going to be was and were, just like lesson 2. I was, you were, that's eram, eras, erat, eramus, eratsi, serant. And then we have the future tense. Ero, eri, serit, erimul, serit, sits, erunt. And you'll notice that the endings are actually the same. So all of these have, almost all of them have ost musi sunt, ost musi sunt. These two have m as the first person singular. But notice that they're even almost exactly the same as the previous. So you'll have like, if you have the imperfect tense here from lesson 4, which was originally lesson 2, but here it is in lesson 4 as a review. You have bombas, bot, bombas, batis, bont. If you take away the B, the letter B, and just stick on ER to those endings, you've got the imperfect sum, right? And the same thing happens with the future tense. The future tense is bo, be, speed, be, mus, speed, bunt. And if you just take those endings, drop the letter B, and add ER, you've got the future tense of sum. The other thing he's going to introduce to you is it's going to talk about what is known as the infinitive, also known as the second principal part. This is going to come up later in lesson 7 when we talk about the 4 principal parts. Right now, the book is just going to ask you to know the first 2 principal parts, and it's going to say sum and esse are the first 2 principal parts of the to be verb. Notice that they are what is known as irregular, which means they don't quite follow a pattern, right? And so, let me see if they kind of, I'm trying to remember if they actually explain exactly what it means. Well, I will tell you what it means is that the endings will stay the same. The endings are regular, not irregular. The endings are regular. But the stems, you'll notice how it changes. If you go back here, the stem stays pretty much the same. Ama, 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 ama. Here it's su, s, su, and then here we have era for these ones. But here, that's an irregular one because it doesn't follow any particular pattern as far as the stem goes. So therefore, the stems are irregular. And you can see it actually says that. where does it say that? Notice that the personal endings are regular, although the infinitive esse and present stem are irregular. That's where it says it. So if you're doing this, you're going to want to memorize these, and it's basically, in a nutshell, all of these past lessons 1, 2, and 3, now just talking about you personally. The other thing to notice is they do kind of make sure, they want you to know that you don't say, like in English, we would say, if you would say, I am loving, that would still just translate as amo. You wouldn't say sum amo. That might seem like what, sum means I am, and amo means to love. But actually that translates, sum amo translates as I am, I love. And that doesn't make sense even in English, right? So it won't make sense in Latin either. So that's it for that lesson. And that's the end of lesson 5. It's just the to be verbs.